Hi there, my name is Emma, and today we are going to do a vocabulary lesson, and we're going to talk about children and childhood. So this vocabulary lesson is very good for anyone who has children, anyone who knows children, who talk about children, and also people who are doing the TOEFL and the IELTS exam. And the reason for the TOEFL and the IELTS exam is for some of the questions they may ask you, maybe in the essay or the speaking part, to talk about your childhood, or if you have children, to talk about your children. And so this vocabulary lesson can help you to get a higher score on the vocabulary component, because you'll be using a little bit more challenging words, and they will recognize that. So let's get started. Sorry about the siren, guys. Okay. So a common grammatical mistake people make is they don't know when to use child and when to use children. So first of all, child means one kid, one child. Children is children two or more. Okay? So my friend has 3 children. My other friend has just 1 child. Okay? Another thing I want you to note is the meaning of childhood. So when we talk about childhood, we're talking about a period of time. A period of time when we were young, that's our childhood. So the childhood is the period of time when you're a child. Alright, so let's look at some different types, some of the different stages of childhood and the terms we use for those. So first of all, we have infant. Okay? Infant is a noun, and it's a synonym of baby. It's just sort of like a higher way to say baby. Infants tend to cry a lot. Just an example sentence of the word infant. So after infant, the baby will get a bit bigger, and it will become a toddler. So a toddler, this is a noun, and it's usually around the ages of 1 to 2 years old. It's a child who is between these ages. And usually toddlers, they're able to walk and they can talk. They say not maybe full sentences, but, they're about 1 to 2 years old. So we use the term toddler for this age. Now, similar to toddler, we also sometimes talk about the terrible twos. So this is a common English expression. And we use it when we're talking about toddlers, because toddlers often scream, they often cry, they often fight, maybe kick or hit. And so as a result, parents often call this period of time the terrible twos. So here's an example. When children hit the terrible twos, they cry a lot. Okay? Although I hear the terrible twos really aren't that terrible for parents who, your children are growing. Maybe it won't be such a bad time. Okay, next we have preteen. So I've skipped a lot between here. You'll see that we've jumped from 2 to 9 to 13. And the reason for that is, in general, after about 2 years old, we just usually use the term children, child, kid. You can also use the age too. I have an 8-year-old kid. I have a 3-year-old. I have a 4-year-old. So that's what we usually use for the ages between 2 and 9. So after that, we get to preteen. So pre means before. So before teenage years. This is usually between 9 to 13 years old. These are our preteens. And this is before a child hits puberty. So that's what preteen means. This is also a noun. We're talking about a person. And then finally, our last 2 definitions for the types, adolescent and teenager. These words are synonyms. They're for people between the ages of 13 and 19. So maybe you have teenagers at home, maybe you have adolescents, maybe you are a teenager. We can also shorten this. You will often hear the word teen. Okay, so now we're going to learn some vocabulary about what children do and what parents do. So here are a couple of vocabulary words that reflect, well, they are things that children do. So most of these are actions. Now, of course, children do a lot more things than the 3 things I have here, but these are words you may not know. They're words that can help you if you're doing TOEFL, IELTS. They're higher level words. So the first word we have is crawl. Crawl is a verb, and it's when children move, but they're not walking. They're on their arms and their knees. They crawl across the floor. So this is what babies do. So first, babies just lie there, then they crawl, and then they learn how to walk. So we can say most infants learn to crawl between 7 to 12 months. Period. Okay, so that's crawl. Next word, temper tantrum. Okay, you can also use this for adults, although this is mainly what children do. This is actually a noun, but if we use the verb throw, we can say throw a temper tantrum. So this is the phrase. And when a child throws a temper tantrum, they pretty much go crazy. They start to cry, scream, kick, yell, hit. They lose their minds, and I've seen some pretty bad temper tantrums. They're not fun things to deal with. So you can also say this about an adult, although if an adult is throwing a temper tantrum, it's like saying they're just like a kid. They can't control their emotions. They just go nuts. So that's temper tantrum. And again, just to highlight this, you throw a temper tantrum. Okay. Our next verb is tattle. So tattle is the verb, and tattle means when you tell on someone. So somebody does something bad, and instead of keeping it to yourself, you run, or maybe a child runs up to his mom and says, Mommy, my brother did this. So that's an example when you try to get someone in trouble. So for example, the boy tattled on his sister when she stole a pen. So the boy tried to get his sister in trouble. He told maybe their mom. So it's when you tell someone something to get someone in trouble. Okay, and somebody who does this a lot, children call a tattletale. So a tattletale is someone who always runs to their parent saying, Mommy, this person did this person did that, always trying to get someone in trouble. So this is not a nice thing to be called, especially when you're a kid. I used to be called this all the time when I was a kid because I was always the one who would run to my mom and tattle on everyone. Okay, so now we are going to look at some key words key things parents do. Okay, so what do parents do? Well, one thing they do is they discipline their children. So discipline can be a verb or a noun. And it means, so some people have different definitions of this. One definition is, it means to teach children rules. Another definition some might say is to punish children. So you might hear punishment. You might hear, to teach children rules. And so let's look at an example. I discipline my children with timeouts. So one method of raising children is if they act bad, if they misbehave, parents might make them sit down away from other children for 10 minutes. They're not allowed to play. They're not allowed to do anything. That's a timeout. Maybe they have to sit in their room. They're not allowed to do anything. That's a timeout. So that's one form of discipline. Another form of discipline may be spanking, our next word. So spank is a verb, and it means to hit a child on the butt. Okay, there's a big debate in North America right now on whether or not spanking your kid is okay. Some people say yes, some people say no. Well, I'll show you our example sentence. This is true. When I was a kid, my mom used to cry when she spanked us. So she felt so bad about it. It was always just a little hit, We didn't even feel anything. But we would always pretend to cry to make her feel bad and to make her cry, actually. So we were not the nicest children, but my mom used to cry when she spanked us. Okay, another form of discipline that parents might use is grounding. So ground is the verb. Grounded is the adjective. Okay, so what happens when you are grounded? It's a form of punishment where you're not allowed to leave your house. You're not allowed sometimes to leave your room. Your parents may take away your television, your computer, your cell phone. So you're allowed to go to school, but that's about it. Or maybe church if you go to church, or mosque, or wherever you go. But you're not allowed to hang out with your friends. You're not allowed to go see movies. You're not allowed to do fun things. So that's what happens when you are grounded. And so if you watch North American TV, you'll probably hear, if there's ever a TV show where there's a child and a parent, at some point you'll probably hear these words. You're grounded, meaning you can't go out, you're being punished. Okay, and finally, the last word we have on this list is raise. So not rise, raise, with an A. A-I. Raise is a verb, and it means to take care of children and to bring up children, to teach children until they become adults. So you're looking at the period of time from when they're children or even babies to adults. That period of time, it's when the parents or guardians take care of the children. So oftentimes when parents talk, they like their children to be a certain way. So they say, I raised my son to be honest. I raised my daughter to respect others. I raised my children to be hardworking. So you often hear parents say these sentences, especially as their children get older. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. So again, it's very important for people who are doing the TOEFL, IELTS. If you get a question about childhood or children, you can use any of these terms, and it may improve your vocabulary mark. This video is also good for anyone with children. So I invite you to come to our website at www.engvid.com, and you can practice out these words in our quiz. So until next time, take care.